Hello, it's Kristy Gray, your newest hype girl and astrologer. Welcome to the Cosmic Hotline.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Cosmic Hotline. And this week, I promised you we would be diving into the astrological energy and everything you need to know about. But in saying that, we do have a Gemini full moon on the horizon that's coming up next week, and I'm going to be giving you the 411 in next week's episode. But as I was thinking about this week and what did I want to connect with you on and share with you and what's relevant, I really started thinking about how important it is to bet on you. More on that in a moment, especially this time of year. Purely because when we navigate Scorpio season, which is the most transformative season of the year, we're then met with the beautiful, energetic, magnetic, expansive energy of Sagittarius season. What I love so much about this season, it's all about dreaming bigger, bolder, and brighter. It's about going after what you want and making sure that you can have fun while doing it. Our Saggies and this season is all about bringing the vibes. It helps you to see what's possible again. And you do need hope after you've navigated something that's challenging. But what happens if you don't feel like life is where you want it to be? Well, that comes back to you having to bet on you. And I'm going to give you some insights into my own life and those challenging moments that I've experienced, and when I faced a shit ton of adversity, what has happened in my life and how have I navigated through it? Because that is going to impact who you are, but also where you want to go, essentially, how you're going to get there. But the reason I was thinking about this is because it's December this week. How did we even get there, babes? It's December this week. We're in the middle of Sagittarius season. The next season that's upon us is Capricorn season, which is all about, okay, we need to build it. We need to create what we want and go after it. But when there's a new year coming, it puts a bit of pressure on us. We start to reflect on where we've been and also where we're going. I see some people online that are really excited about the new year and other people that are like, I'm just not ready yet. And I get it. There's been a lot that we've had to navigate. I 100% understand. And so with Neptune about to go direct on the 4th of December, if you're someone that's still finding that the path in front of you is a little foggy and you don't know really where you're going and you're having both moments of deep introspection and clarity, but then also a shit ton of confusion, know on the 4th of December, things should start to get a little clearer. Then we've got Jupiter moving into Aries. Oh, baby, so good, right? So if you felt like you've been dreaming up what's possible, but you haven't really been able to actualize it yet, know from the 21st of December, the stars will be on your side. We've then, and this is where things get spicy, we've got another Mercury retrograde coming up. Yes, that's right. Mercury being the planet of communication, inviting us to slow down when it comes to our thoughts, our communication, our systems and processes. It hits retrograde in Capricorn on the 29th of December. We're going to start to feel that in the next couple of weeks as we enter the shadow period. So yeah, I think it's super sexy to dream up this new year, new me, but you can only do that if you're willing to bet on you. Now, if you connect with me on Instagram and you've seen one of my latest posts, you know that my jam is curating a word for the year ahead. Because words are wands and astrology is language, I love being able to find a word that encapsulates the energy I'm wanting to call in, the person who I'm wanting to become, and it helps to frame the decisions that I want to make moving into a new year ahead. And I do this because I tend to always be chasing something new, whether I'm getting distracted or whether I'm always setting the benchmarks in my life higher, which is funny because my word of 2023 is higher. but it's more about higher energies, higher vibrations, higher frequencies, like a higher version of me. It's about stepping in and elevating what I'm currently doing, but taking it to a whole new level because I'm all about astrology for my higher self. So it makes sense that I really start to embody a higher version of me. But as I start to think about like how we start to work towards anything, we get really distracted, whether it's a system or process we see somebody using, or a productivity hack, or we read a book, or we listen to a podcast. Like I have goals and visions, but I'm constantly reassessing my action steps. So I find a word is really helpful and useful for me because it's the one thing that acts as my North Star. So then it allows me to change all these things because, I'm all about optimization. But the word is the one thing that stays the same and guides me. The reason I'm bringing up the word of the year and inviting you to explore that too, and I'd love it if you already have your word or you're not quite sure, slide up in my DMs on the gram. I want to hear your word of the year. I've seen so many on my latest post. I've had voice notes from some of you babes sharing with me what your word is. And I have been loving hearing not only what your word is, but your reasons behind it, the intentions behind it. And that just gets me so excited. So let's feed off this collective energy together. But anyway, let me digress. Right. We can have all of these incredible words to work towards. We can be really inspired by Sagittarius season. But the reality is that inspiration only gets us so far. At the end of the day, you have to bet on you. How do you show up and how do you work towards your vision and your goals in those moments of adversity? In those moments when life is shit and things aren't going your way and you're faced with things that are challenging and are pushing your hot buttons, or maybe not your hot buttons, maybe just pushing your buttons. How do you respond in those moments? Like, what do you need to do to actually help you to move through something, to seek a new perspective, to still decide to choose your higher self or to choose to respond as the best version of you? Because the reality is we're not perfect. Life is not perfect. And we're always going to be faced with challenges. And I've been really thinking about all of this, especially because it's this time of year and there is this pressure to reflect back on who you've become and who you're going to be moving forward. And I'm really proud and happy of the person that I've become and the business that I continue to build and the work that I continue to do in this world. Like I have pinch me moments almost every single day of the life that I've created. And sure, I still see so much opportunity with this life that I'm creating. I'm still not at the level of success and impact that I want to create in this world. But I'm also a realist in the sense of my life wasn't always harmonious. There were moments where it was absolute shit. I couldn't see the forest through the trees. And what did I have to do in those moments to actually move through it? And the reality is I had to bet on me. I had to trust in me in those moments. I had to believe that the life that I was creating for myself was attainable and I was worthy of creating that life. And there's been some really challenging moments. If I think about the ones that stand out, and it's really funny because I've been reflecting a lot on my life, especially since writing this memoir, which is also changing, by the way. I'm still going to write a memoir, but initially I wanted to kind of pour all of my heart and soul onto the page. And having an Aries moon in the 8th house, vulnerability is something I'm working on in this lifetime. And I'm still going to be vulnerable with you, babes, but I do have this tendency to hide behind things. Like I share things and I almost disassociate sometimes. If you ever tuned into my previous podcast, Kristy and I'm, I talked a lot about my past on that podcast. I also felt really self-indulgent doing so. And so one of my intentions when starting the Cosmic Hotline was I wanted to make the podcast less about me and more about astrology. But I'm also the one sharing my life with you. And so I want to have this element of connection with you, these moments of vulnerability and keep it real with you. As I've been writing this memoir, I can think about the teaching moments that I experienced during that time. but also like pull the thread, get really curious of how did I actually respond in those moments? That's what I've been thinking about a lot lately. And that's why this episode is all about how do you bet on you? Like, you have to bet on you because if you're not going to, well, who's going to do it for you? If I think about definitely more so the last couple of years, there were really two significant moments that shaped who I've become today. And that was embracing astrology wholeheartedly, like actually allowing that to become a part of my identity. And then also then navigating like, okay, so if I step into this new version of me, well, then how is that going to shape my reality, right? That's going to change and impact like who I connect with, what energy I'm putting out there, like who are the people I'm surrounding myself with. And it's fucking delightful now. But in those moments, it was really challenging. And the reason being is that I think that when we're doing anything that's meant for us, it's going to be really scary. So scary that you're going to be afraid to do it. But that's the reason why you should do it. If I think about like those moments where my business was growing exponentially, people were booking astrology with me and I had no control over that, which control is just like another conversation in itself, is that it felt really scary because I was allowing things to unfold. There's this element of surrender. And surrender is really hard because you have to be open to receive. But we tend to want to control things and outcomes as humans. But what I did throughout that time, even though I didn't necessarily trust the process and I was allowing things in my life to just flow, I still knew at the end of the day that there was something that was guiding me to an outcome or to a destination that, sure, I didn't know what it looked like yet, but I had enough self trust that I was going to allow whatever was going to unravel before me. And it comes back to this key point again of you have to bet on you, right? You have to trust in you and where things are going. And I've had a lot of conversations lately on intuition. How do we connect with our intuition? I've got more episodes coming up on this as well. It's a question I get asked time and time again. And I think it comes down to you have to build this really strong relationship with yourself. And the only way that you can do that is by tackling a mind, body, spirit approach. By doing that, like I was thinking about, like, how do you actually do that? Right? Because I think it's one thing to do it. I think we do things automatically a lot of the time. It's like we get up in the morning, we work through our morning rituals, and when we explain what we do to people, we're automatically doing them. So we almost have to actually stop and think, oh, how do I do that? Even if you think about your day job, right? Or a creative practice that you love. If somebody said to you, well, what do you do in a day? You actually probably have to think about that because there's so many things that you just do automatically because you've either mastered it or it's habit. And I think about that too, like whether it's connecting with our intuition, sharing some of these concepts with you. When you peel back the layers, what is it you're actually doing in those moments? So when I was thinking about this like mind, body, spirit approach, because, your girls are Virgo here. I have Mercury and Virgo in the second house. So I'm all about a system and process. I'm all about joining dots. Like, how do I pull that thread and articulate in a way where it makes sense for me, but then it also makes sense for you? And building a level of self-trust so that you can bet on you. And taking this approach, I was thinking about, okay, from a mindset perspective, because we hear all the time, like you've got to focus on your mindset. What are your limiting beliefs? What are you manifesting? There's all this jargon that gets thrown around. But if I boil it down to one thing, in those moments of adversity or when I was really challenged and I either wanted to quit my business or even if I think of when I quit my corporate job, is in those moments I had to bet on me. I had to trust in myself that I was making the right decision. And a big part of that was feeding my mind. And if I think about, right, because mindset is all about what are you feeding your mind with? And that could be through a few different ways. It's making sure what you're consuming is content that's feeding your mind in a really healthy way. But I want to actually think about this even further. This can be also, what are you telling yourself on a day-to-day basis? Are you telling yourself that you're confident, courageous, and brave? Or are you telling yourself that you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you can't do a good job, and that somebody else is doing a better job than you out there? What are you feeding your mind with? It's so important that your energetic input of thought or consumption is positive, it's optimistic, it's also giving you hope. I think this is a really big part of it. Because I remember when I had adrenal fatigue, so I was 35, so I was in a Saturn square year, it was a roundabout. And it's really interesting, like now I look back, I wish I so had the tools of understanding my natal chart. I knew astrology and I was doing a ton of self-directed learning, but I didn't have the insights that I obviously have now. Makes sense, right? Like I've been an astrologer for like almost 5 years. But it was around this time when I was like 34, 35. So my progressed moon was in Pisces, which represents the end of a cycle. I was going through adrenal fatigue. I was in a Saturn square. Like it was like a fucking astrological shit show, if I'm really honest. And so that's when I felt lost. That was when I got offered a promotion at Sephora. It was the promotion I'd been chasing for a year. And I had that moment where I was like, I can take this promotion or I can quit my job. And that's how I felt in that moment. And because the adrenal fatigue was so bad, because I'd been burning the candle at both ends for approximately 3 years, is that I actually felt that I was depressed. I wasn't depressed looking back now, but the adrenal fatigue had affected me, my mental health so profoundly that I was doing all these things to actually survive on a day-to-day basis. So what I was doing was I was meditating, I was working out, I was reading inspirational shit, I was listening to podcasts, I was watching Tony Robbins, Oprah, like you name it. But in those moments, I was still feeding my mind with things that were helping to support my well-being so that I didn't feel like I was getting pulled into the abyss. It was so important during that time in my life that I had all of these things to lean on, because sometimes you don't have enough internal strength to actually get through your rock bottom. And so that's the first part. It's like you have to feed your mind and you have to proactively choose to feed it things to give you a new perspective. And it's not about bypassing and chasing toxic positivity. It's about finding things to give you perspective so that you can keep moving forward. So that's like kind of the first part. The second part, I was really thinking about spirit because like we've got mindset down packed. I was like, what's the spirit part? And for me, spirit is all about embodying feeling. It's all about looking at a vision and going, okay, this is where I'm visualizing myself. How do I embody that feeling to help me get there? Now, what that looks like for me on a day-to-day basis. So I've become really obsessed with waking up in the morning and meditating as soon as I wake up. So I'm still lying in bed and I stick my AirPods in and I hit play on a visualization. And I choose one. My eyes are like not even really opening yet. And I just lie in bed and I just allow myself to surrender, because our brains are so bloody programmable that what you consume in the first 30 minutes of waking up is going to set the tone for your day. And I know the days where I reach for my phone and scroll, never a good idea, which is why I've been deleting Instagram off my phone before I go to bed each night. So that temptation's not even there. But what I've been loving is an app called Manifesty. And they have some really amazing visualization, meditations on there. It is just so good because it allows me to hold the vision of the energy I'm wanting to call in. You have to be able to visualize. That's what I'm getting at. And visualize however you want to, whether that be through a vision board, a manifestation board, a goals board. It could be doing a meditation where you're actually like thinking about how your day is going to pan out. Even constructing who this future version of you is going to be. What does she look like? Like, what clothes is she wearing? Or he or they? You have to be able to think about the vision and embody that feeling. Is that feeling exciting? What emotions are you going to attach to it? Does that feeling make you proud? Like, are you excited to work towards it? You have to be able to hold it, babes. And then there's this like third piece of the puzzle. This is body. Body for me is all about connection. And by connecting with your body, you have to nourish it. you have to look after it. We're only given one body in this lifetime. By betting on us, we need to take care of our body. Now, taking care of our body comes in so many different ways. That can be through exercise. That doesn't have to be doing high intensity interval training, but if that's your thing, go for it, babes. Like, I'm now back in the gym lifting weights and I fucking love it. It's so rad. But I haven't done that for such a long time because I had to go on my own journey and my relationship with fitness has changed a lot. There's been moments in my life where I haven't even had what it takes to get in the gym because I've had so much trauma from my injuries from being in the gym. But going to yoga was a way to reconnect with myself. I felt really good in those moments where I was able to create that mind-body connection, and I felt like I was nourishing my body and giving back to it. But that could be going for a walk along the beach, just taking some time out for you to connect with you. It could be about cooking yourself the most delicious meal and going, I'm worthy of this. It's the moments where I go, you know what? I'm allowed to give myself permission to pause. I'm worthy of creating a really nice lunch and actually taking some time to do that. That's a way of me giving back and connecting with my body. And so these are the things that I've been really thinking about. Like, how do you bet on you? There's so many different ways that you need to bet on you. But they're just some examples that I wanted to share with you today. There was a reason why I wanted to share these elements with you or jump on the mic and be really real with you. Because in Sagittarius season, it's about seeking out meaning in our lives. It's about challenging our beliefs. It's about thinking and expanding our perspective. It's that realm of possibility again needs to be widened. It's about looking for inspiration in places that we might not have looked before. But I also want to kind of bring this back to what's so important based on astrological energy right now and also a new year on the horizon and everything that's happening over the next few weeks. Is remember that I can share with you all of my insights, but at the end of the day, you are the ultimate oracle. You have to bet on you. I can be the catalyst and give you the insight as to what's happening astrologically, but at the end of the day, it's up to you what you decide to do with those. You have to work out, how are you going to feel inspired? How are you going to feel motivated? What's going to feed your mind? What's going to help you to embody the feeling of your higher self? And how are you going to connect with your body? You have to curate your own menu of services specifically for you. And every single day, you have to create that connection within yourself and build that level of self-trust so that you know how to give to yourself in every single moment. I feel like today was a bit of a sermon. And I also can't believe that I legit just went from start to finish in 30 minutes. But you know what? Every now and then, I've just got to hit you with some KG real talk. And for whatever reason, it needed to come through today. So I hope that whoever's listening to this, that this resonated with you and that you needed to hear this today. And it helps you to embody the best version of yourself. Because at the end of the day, baby, we are all here for higher self energy. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I hope you had some fun with me, and I'll be back next week. You get another solo from me. Woohoo! 2 weeks in a row, baby. We're going to be diving into the Gemini full moon. I'll be talking more through an astrological lens next week, so I can give you the tea on the transits, what's happening, what are great days to do certain things. And if we get time as well, we'll dive into a listener question. But I love you. I appreciate you. And guess what? If you're not betting on you, I want you to know that I'm betting on you. I'll catch you next week, babes.